Day 14 in the Big Brother UK house, and I was really surprised by Paul today actually, because he didn't only continue to act like a fanny, he escalated it beyond heights that even I visualised for him. Housemates were given a new shopping task and they were split into two teams, orange and blue. The teams then had to nominate queens, and they decided to vote for Noki and Chanel. But when they voted for Chanel, Dylan seemed to have a problem with that, and he was kind of trying to put her off it. And he was saying, oh, you know, if we fail, it's on your shoulders. Like, literally trying to manipulate her into giving him the crown, which I thought was a wee bit out of order. But to be fair, she was a bit of a shit queen. So they were all dressed as ants, and they were only allowed to consume sugary treats for the duration of the task. I'd have been loving that. They had cakes, biscuits, donuts, everything. It looked so good, but I mean, even I need a tatty every now and then. Some of the challenges they were given included each ant colony had to follow a line all around the house if they wanted to travel, and they had to follow the queen everywhere. They also had a task where eggs were dropped from pipes, and then they had to grab the egg and take it to a nest in the garden, while people guarded the nest to stop people from stealing the eggs. Now, during this task, somebody briefly walked away from the orange nest, and Olivia grabbed the egg and put it in the blue nest. So this obviously started an argument, but Olivia had said that she was going to give the orange team the egg back, and Noki said, no, I don't think you should give it back because we're supposed to be following the rules, and the rule is if somebody walks away from the nest, we don't give it back. And I was surprised that Olivia wanted to give them the egg back, because I wouldn't have even have took it into consideration. Matty and Jordan were alone in the garden, and Matty was attempting to have a serious conversation with Jordan, and he kept trying to put it off. I think that Jordan's still confused about his feelings, and he doesn't want to waste the friendship between him and Matty, but Matty was saying that he wants to treat him the same as everybody else and still give him cuddles and stuff. But Jordan was explaining that he's not a touchy-feely person, and he's not really like that with people, except for Henry, who's his house husband. And then Matty was in the diary room, kind of explaining to Big Brother that he thinks Jordan's got romantic feelings for him. And I just thought that Matty knew. I thought that it was like a known thing in the house, but obviously they're editing it to make it look more obvious than it is. Next, they were given one of the most pathetic endurance tests that I've ever witnessed in my life. And as if the endurance test itself wasn't bad enough, the effort was an absolute joke. For the blue team, Noki chose Jensen, Paul and Olivia. And for the orange team, Chanel picked Tom, Matty and Dylan. And then Olivia was joking that it was sexist because she didn't pick any women. And she was literally just having a laugh. And then Trish got involved, and the orange team took it way to heart. Like, Chanel took it to heart, Dylan was like, oh, don't start that equality crap or whatever it was he was coming out with. And I was like, it was literally just a joke. And then when they were doing the endurance test, as they were calling it, Olivia was saying, oh, this one's for the girls, like I'm doing this for the women because I'm the only woman up here. And she was just having a joke because they were supposed to be against each other. So they were standing in the garden and they had to hold this like fruit above their head. And I'm not saying that it wasn't heavy, right? And I'm not saying that I wanted them to do an endurance test like Big Brother USA, where they've literally got to hang onto a wall for 8 hours and get battered with slime and water. But it was a bit pathetic. And then Matty accidentally let go of the fruit with one hand and he passed it to Tom. And then Dylan was like, oh, I can't hold on to this, can you hold on to it? And I felt like it was just, I felt like he just couldn't be bothered. I think that he was still in a huff because he didn't get to be the Queen Ant. But it was pretty bad. So the two of them handed that to Tom, while the whole blue team were still standing there with their fruit. And obviously the blue team won. And I thought the orange team literally just threw that away. They're not taking this seriously whatsoever. So after the endurance comp, the argument continued about this stupid sexist comment that was made. And Olivia said, I don't think that women can be painted in a way that they're sexist towards men. I don't know where she's getting that from, because I see so much sexism towards men for women. It's actually shocking. So Chanel was talking to Dylan and she says that she was worried about looking sexist even though she's not. Even though it was a joke. So Dylan went to Trish and he was saying, Chanel feels like she can't really talk to you or she's scared to talk to you or whatever. And Trish was saying, like, I really feel like she should either stand up for herself or speak up for herself at the time or say nothing. And I totally agree. How did she get into that house? I know that the producers were saying that they were looking for people who just wanted to be in there for the experience and they weren't looking for fame or whatever. And that's fair enough. But you would hope that they would pick people who could at least speak up for themselves and defend themselves. And she just kept going on about this thing that didn't even matter. So then when Trish was talking to Chanel about the situation, Chanel was like, oh, I do have a backbone. Where is it? Because the person on the Late and Live show as well, there was like a behavioural analysis person who was absolutely crap. But he was saying, oh, she has got a backbone because she's quite feisty. And when Jordan said, oh, do you fancy yourself as a queen? And she says, no, actually, I was voted to be a queen, or I was nominated to be a queen or whatever. And I'm like, that's not having a backbone, that's literally just general conversation. So Noki, Olivia and Paul were talking in the living room, and I was kind of tuning out because he was involved and he doesn't interest me whatsoever. However, they said something to wind him up, and he got totally aggressive and started shouting at them. And he was like, oh, you take it too serious. We're sitting dressed like ants. Or do you think I'm a dick? Do you think I'm a dick? And I was like, do I think you are a dick? No, I don't think you're a dick, Paul. I think you're a cunt bag. Olivia and Noki were just laughing at me awkwardly because they didn't know where the aggression came from, because he just went from 0 to 100. And then Olivia was like, oh, I won't be shouted at. And I thought, he's so lucky that she just sat there and says I won't be shouted at. I'd have went fucking mental. The next challenge was a smell challenge, and they chose Henry and Kerry to represent the teams. And they just had to smell in boxes, and guess what they were? And Henry ended up winning. So each team had an advantage by the end game. Kerry later approached Paul and suggested they apologise to the girls over how he reacted. And he says even though he regretted how he reacted, he knew why he reacted, so he wasn't going to apologise to them. Basically, he's just a fucking child. He's an absolute fanny. Like, I literally can't stress this enough. Just in case you don't know, just in case I've not made it clear, I can't fucking stand him. Olivia went into the diary room to speak to Big Brother, and she was a bit upset because she didn't really understand why Paul was reacting the way he was. And the two of them are friends usually, and I think they flirt quite a lot and they're quite close in the house. But she was saying, I won't be shouted at, but he's obviously been tired this morning. And I thought, good. I'm glad he's tired, because he's the one who's normally keeping people up, dancing in the room and tickling people's feet and being a fucking arsehole. Like, not that much happened in the house tonight except for Paul just being a dick. But in the late show, it was giving you exclusive looks as they usually do. And Jenkin was in the garden with Paul, and he was telling him who he thought the top 3 people were going to be. And he said when Paul first came in, he thought he was going to be the winner, which is the opposite of what I thought. And then he was saying maybe Chanel would be in the top 3. That just goes to show you how different perspectives, like how different things are in the house for what you see out here, because that is the complete opposite of what I would have thought. Now, this being said, I want to make it clear, right? I still don't really want him to get booed because I don't think it's nice and it's unnecessary. So if he does get put up for nomination, it's not as if I'll be sitting in the house going, oh, I hope everybody boos him because he's a dick, because he's still a person at the end of the day. Olivia, Trish and somebody else were talking in the garden about Dylan and saying how he takes control of the kitchen, and when he's making dinners they feel like they're forced to have dinner at a certain time or eat certain foods. Now, what baffles me is that they've all got one of these and they all work and noise comes out. So how difficult is it to say, well, I don't fancy that tonight, I'll make something else, or I think I'm going to make a different meal, I can make it for somebody else if that's what they want, or I'm not hungry now, I'll just eat that later. Like, how difficult is it? Honestly, I don't understand. If you don't want to know the results of the shopping task, turn off now. But the house failed the shopping task, and whatever team won the final challenge get to take control of the shopping list. That should be interesting. I really feel like this week's task was a good opportunity for the housemates to make the most of being in the Big Brother house and have fun with it. But as usual, they just constantly moaned. Like, even when Big Brother was saying, oh, you're going to be ants, you're going to sleep in the leaves. The only thing that they're ever happy about is when they gave cakes or sugary treats, but they're not willing to put any effort in it at all. They had the most pathetic endurance task ever. They didn't put any effort into it whatsoever. Like, have you even seen anybody really excited about doing a task? Or like, as if anybody even happy to be there, because it doesn't seem like it. Hopefully we start to see some changes in their attitude soon, and hopefully Paul's out this week. And if you would like to speak more about Big Brother, give me a follow.